Welcome into Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery here on this Monday morning. Today on the show, the Braves are actually a better roster this year than they were last year. Are guys committed to winning in the NBA? And were there any all-star snubs for the Atlanta Braves? Talk about all that next. It's Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.
This is Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome in on a Monday morning to Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. We ask you to head over to youtube.com. When you get there, find us in the search browser. Subscribe to our page. Leave us a comment. Of course, free and available on all of your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. And then give me a follow on my personal Twitter page. That would be at JMCH316. Well, we get ready for really right now what has been the biggest series of the year after the Braves swept the Nationals, which they should have done. Look, that's the reality is the Washington Nationals are maybe the worst team, worst organization in Major League Baseball right now. And the Braves did exactly what you're supposed to do. Sweep them out of town, get them done. Here's the great thing. After they get done with these 3 games with the Mets here at Truist Park, they're going to head to Washington and play them for 4 games right before the All-Star break. So you get to beat up on them a little bit more. But we're now at a point where it's a 1.5 game lead for the Mets in this division. And here comes the Mets in tonight into Truist Park. And what I've said, I think this is going to be the biggest, most raucous crowd. You got all the goofball Mets fans that are going to be there. Max Fried versus Max Scherzer, a 1.5 games. The division lead could flip before we get, to the weekend and get ready to go to Washington. Everything sets itself up for this week. And the crazy part about the Braves, and I know a lot of people were wondering how the Braves would work their roster and what Double A would do in the offseason and who would he keep and who would he let go and things like that. But if you look right now, the Braves are even a better roster than they were last year. Now, some of that is additions because you didn't have guys, Ronald Acuna Jr., Marcell Ozuna. You didn't have those guys for a good bulk of the season last year. Ronnie literally played half a year, and that was it. And then Ozuna obviously broke his hand and then got was just kind of held out because of the assault charges and things like that were, being investigated and all that stuff. So you had 2 of your key cogs from your 2020 season that were missing. And then you add in the young guys that we've talked about, the Contreras, the Kyle Wright, the Michael Harris, the Spencer Strider. You're getting contributions from rookies and young guys that honestly you went into the season not expecting. Yeah, you knew you were going to give Kyle Wright maybe a shot to be a starter and things like that, but you didn't expect him to come out and be a 10-game winner, 9-game winner here at the All-Star break, right? To be as good as what he's been. Strider comes out of nowhere. You weren't expecting contributions out of him. Michael Harris has to take over center field. He nails that position down. And dare I say, he might be the best Atlanta Brave that they have. He might be the best player that the Braves have. I know that's crazy talk. I know they've got Ronnie, and I know Ronnie's got the track record, but Michael Harris can do everything. He's in baseball terms, we call it a 5-tool player. Michael Harris is a 5-tool player. Now, there's another aspect about the Braves team that I think they do a lot better this year as well. But first, want to tell you about my friends over at Sports Card Investor. Listen, 630,000 cards that they have on the Sports Card Investor app. I mean, I don't know what else you could be looking for. If you're in this marketplace, and today, look, I'm a card collector. I've got a whole bunch of stuff. I'm always looking at prices. I'm always curious to see what's out there, what things are going for, what some of the stuff that I have is valued at. This is the easiest, best way to check things out. Sports Card Investor app is the hobby's most powerful resource. You can check the value of your favorite cards, find great deals, and obviously, at the end of the day, profit from this hobby that you love. So it's free and available in the Google Play Store, Apple App Stores. It's a must-have if you are a baseball fan. So, look, it's completely free. You can check out their complete inventory of all of the cards that they have out there. And if you're interested in trying to find that favorite card, it's got prices. It's got what cards have been going for of late. You get all of your information easy and free in the palm of your hand on the app. So I want you to download Sports Card Investor app today. It's available free in the Google Play and Apple App Stores, or Go to sportscardinvestor.com/locked on. Sportscardinvestor.com/locked on. Now, one of the other things that the Braves also do really well, and I've always asked this, and they've done it some in the past, but you look at the mix of speed and on base that they're getting from the bottom to the top of the order. You look at how Ronnie obviously adds that speed element, Michael Harris in the speed element, Dansby in the speed element. We've talked before about the idea of, look, Dansby's already set his career high in stolen bases this year, and Michael Harris is giving you a whole nother dimension. When those guys get on, they put so much pressure. And obviously, this is without Ozzie right now, who you expect back. So you add Ozzie into the mix, and now, look, you've got half your lineup that can really motor around the bases and really use their speed to their advantage. And you look at how good Max Fried has been as a starter. Max Fried has now asserted himself as a legitimate ace in Major League Baseball. And you saw he got announced to the All-Star team. Kyle Wright should have been. We'll talk about that a little bit later here. But Max Fried was named to the All-Star team. He's not going to start the All-Star game, but there's at least an argument to be had that you could say, we talked about last week, right? He's not only the best left-handed pitcher in baseball, but he's having one of the better seasons overall in Major League Baseball. He's been terrific this year, but he's established himself as a true ace. There's no more question about, do we have a guy at the top of our rotation? So if you start to look up and down this Braves roster, whether it's still the mix of power, whether it's the additions between Ronnie and Ozuna that weren't part of this last year, whether it's the young guys that you mix in, the Striders, the Harrises, the Kyle Wrights, the William Contreras, contributions from guys that you didn't expect. You've got Rosario, you've got Duvall, you've still got Austin Riley mashing away, and obviously you traded out Matt Olson for Freddie Freeman. And while it's not the same player, the production and contributions of Olson have been there as well. So I would tell you that overall, this team and their roster is even better. And oh yeah, it was kind of funny, right? Over the weekend, they stuck a thumb in the eye to the New York Mets. They picked up Robinson Cano, who I do think will be active tonight, and he might even get an at bat, right? Wouldn't surprise me at all if Snicker doesn't use him. I mean, he's got him on the bench, left-handed hitter, see what he's got out there. I like that because that's just kind of a thumb and a poke into the ribs of the New York Mets because they're paying him, right? I mean, the Braves are paying him, a bag of balls, some beans and, a couple of fish heads for it. Mets have to pick up whatever it is they owe him, $20-30 million or whatever like that. So they might even use him off the bench. But again, that's just, if you get something great, if you don't, you got nothing invested in it. Now, will they make a move at the All-Star break? That's going to be the interesting part. If Ian Anderson is on track, and he can get himself back to being a little bit more consistent, then I think the rotation is fine, right? I don't know where you would stick another starter into that. Ian Anderson falters, then maybe you have to think about adding another starter because he has been so inconsistent this year. So I don't know that you need a starter, but that might be something that they look and add depending on what Ian Anderson does coming out of the All-Star break, or at least in his next start and heading toward the All-Star break. What does he do, and can he get a little bit more consistent? Otherwise, you might find a piece for the back end of your bullpen, but you've added Matzik back into the midst. You're hoping to get Kirby Yates back. Obviously, with Smith and Jansen and the year that Minter's had an all-star caliber year. Look, by and large, your bullpen is pretty well set, right? You feel like you have your bullpen pretty well set. Maybe one more right-handed arm. I feel like you got enough lefties with Minter, Matzik and Will Smith. You probably need another right-handed guy, right, to mix in, especially now that Strider's a starter. You probably need one more right-hander in the back end of that bullpen or somewhere that can eat up some innings to the middle of that bullpen. Chavez has been terrific. McHugh's been, terrific, but you're looking for somebody to replace a Darren O'Day or somebody like that in there. But by and large, there isn't really a need. Think about it. They haven't had to rebuild their outfield like they did last year. Remember, their outfield just went to shambles when Ozuna and Arani were out. They had to rebuild everything. Could they add another left-handed bat? I think that's what they're hoping that, Robinson Cano is. But right now, this team is better. Now, it doesn't mean that they'll win the World Series, but you would have to think that they have to be the favorites going into this thing, right? I know they have, the third best record, but you would have to figure that the Braves right now should be one of the favorites to absolutely win the World Series. All right, when we come back, I want to talk about Are guys in the NBA committed to winning? I had this question asked of me the other day. It's up next on Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.